GM, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That has been the crypto market, the ETH market, certainly this week, also the NFT market, which is now back up above $6 billion in market cap, and how to make some, or in an ideal case, a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today, we have BTC briefly dropping to $114,000 before recovering to 116 on the news that Galaxy Digital moved some BTC, or quite a large amount of BTC actually, to Binance. BitMine immersion revealing that they're now holding over $2 billion in ETH. Yesterday we said, 2 days ago we said, biggest holder of ETH is SBET with $1.3 billion. That is not true anymore. It is BitMine immersion now. So the race for the biggest ETH treasury is still ongoing, and then pump fund sliding under $1 billion market cap, while Bonk completes a massive token burn based on fees generated, and as a part of that also proceeds to flip pump fund when it comes to the FTV. Also got the latest on price action, crypto, NFTs, and a bit of a discussion around what we are making of this ETH treasury race. Today, I got Brad with me in the co-host seat. We are almost ready to get into it. Before we do that, though, just to remind the friends that nothing that we say here is financial advice. As green as the markets may be, they are still extremely risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Brett, how are you doing? How is Copenhagen treating you?
Hello, friends. Yeah, we're still hanging out in Copenhagen. I'm here for another week or so. But it's been fun. You know, we actually just did a big workshop yesterday with all the teams that we have for MegaMafia 2 going through their pitches, because like they're constantly having to iterate on product and even just like come up with product. And it's like it was me in a room sitting there with these teams just rolling in, and I had like Jez from the timeline. You guys may know Jez, Blur, a few other people, some other advisors, people like Ekram, another strong CMO in the ecosystem. We're all just sitting there. They're basically pitching to us, and we're like just shredding them. It's like saying what's good, what's bad, why I would invest, why I wouldn't invest, all this shit. It's a lot of fun. So it's cool to see these teams that are really strong builders, I'll say, have to like sit here and go through this shit, and then see like how they deal with us pushing back on them, or some of them we didn't have to push back at all because the ideas were so fun. So combination of excitement and net new stuff, because I'm not I haven't done this traditionally a lot. I have opinions, obviously, but having to actually be put in that investor's seat, almost like a Shark Tank type thing, has been fun.
You enjoy doing that?
Yeah, it's cool, because I think most of us feel like we have intuition on like what will and won't succeed, having been in the ecosystem as long as we have, multiple years. We see the experiments that are being run, and like what kind of loops you need, what kind of consumer forward stuff you need, what kind of mechanisms you need on the back end, whatever. So like it's fun to call in those intuitions and just say like gut feeling, like this is how I feel about this thing, and yeah, just see how they take that.
And what's the general workflow in the mafia now that you're like traveling around cities? The thing that I spent the last days, I'm now back to Vienna, but I spent the last week or so with you guys. The thing that I heard is there's the pitching on Friday, but apart from that, do you like provide the teams in the mafia with a lot of structure, or do they operate like pretty independently and you just have those like pitching checkpoints? What's the general way you operate with these teams?
Yeah, it's case by case, right? Like different people need different things to like push themselves. So like we have some teams that are here. There's 2, 3, 4 of them in the group, and they literally just fuck off and like do their own thing the entire time. Like we give them some feedback in short instances. They go and like that's all we need, and they go back and they iterate. Others are like have a more unrefined product and they need more hands-on stuff. They want more one-on-one sessions. They want the interactions with the team or the advisors that we pull in, right? Like we just had a workshop yesterday all around category creation, branding, like how you can be perceived in the market, how you can dictate how you're perceived in the market, all that stuff. So like we have interspersed advisor one-on-ones, like high-level VCs. We had someone from Paradigm in last week or earlier this week. Just degens, right? Prominent traders from the ecosystem, CMOs, like we're just like all of these different like aspects that it takes to actually build a product. We give people structured touch points on that stuff, and then like social events so that you can see these people on and off like the formal arrangements. And then it's up to them to dictate how they take advantage of the time between those instances.
What has been your biggest learning so far out of basically mentoring and guiding the teams and companies through the MegaMafia?
My particular learning, so like,
Yeah,
I have a
because
hand in this stuff. I'm
that you
more.
like didn't really do before in that way. I mean, obviously you did consulting, but you probably didn't run an accelerator before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like it's hard to do these cohort things in timed instances because creating a product is not necessarily like it's hard. It's not something you can force all the time, right? Like something's just come about organically because a problem came up in the market. And you're like, boom, I want to tackle this thing as a user of this stuff. So it's like a little tough for these to see these people try to like force an idea out, which could be tough just based on a bunch of feedback. And it's tough to see them struggle with that. Like I've been in that position, right? I've built products before, and it's like I want to build something. I want to like be passionate about something. I want to like really like give my all to it, but like sometimes you just don't feel it. So it's that's been the surprise, is like seeing how teams deal with that and like are willing to just like throw out ideas, like literally like, hey, I came up with this idea yesterday and I put a pitch deck together, and now I have to like get grilled by 5 people that I respect because like I have to do it. I just have to do it in this time frame. So like that's an interesting situation.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get it also from my own advisory work. I feel like the thing that I sometimes find really challenging is when you have a team who've been working like on a good idea, but for whatever reasons they realize they need to pivot, and you also like the old idea, but you like the new one as well, and it's like really hard to put it out in the barn, shoot it, and move on to the next. Sometimes,
some letting go, or like you can see artifacts of the old idea in the new idea because they don't want to let it go fully situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be tough because sometimes you need to get rid of everything of the old thing. Look, we have quite a few news to get into, so let's get started as usual with the price action, which now looks better as we have been speaking, and I quite like that. Starting with the majors first, BTC, said it at the top of the show, is now back at 116.6K, still down 1.6% over the last 24 hours, but slowly recovering. ETH is having none of that. ETH is outperforming once again, up 2.5% over the last 24 hours, back to 3.7K, did almost run up to 3.8K earlier today. XRP down 10% over the week, up 0.5% over the last 24 hours. I think there's also been the news that one of the co-founders has moved or has sold 100-something million of XRP tokens, is what I read on the timeline. BNB is basically flat on the day, $770. Solana down 2.5% almost, back to 180. And then checking in with Hyperliquid, which is also up over the last 24 hours, up 2.5%, back at 43. And Sui up almost 2% at $3.7. Moving on to the meme side of things. A bit of a mixed picture, I would say. Doge is down 1.5%, 23 cents. Chip up 0.5%. Pepe, Bonk, Pudgy, all down anywhere between 2 and 3%. SPX, Murad's coin, is having a bit of a move up 2% to $1.80. Just scrolling down.
Did I see an alert that got added to Hyperliquid? SPX?
Say it again.
I think I saw an alert that SPX got added to Hyperliquid.
Really?
It was in my noties whenever I was checking. Yeah, I was checking my. I mean, again, I was checking my Kaido long, which is not looking great. We're back deep red. But when I was in there, I saw at SPX 69, whatever was a notification there, and you go see if it's an option.
Nice. I missed that. Morgist also up 3%. I think as well. Moritz, good friend, personal friend, and also friend of the show, who said he is buying a bit of Mog coin here, given that he thinks ETH still has a good and long way to run, and he wants a bit of that sort of a leveraged exposure. Turbo up 5%. What else? Useless, a coin up 3.5%, up 7% over the week. Lania up 6.5%. Rect down 2%, but still up 40% over the week. Like this, I mean, I know we looked at it a couple times this week already, but this thing has been on a massive run. Obviously, a bit biased here, given that I hold quite a nice bag of that. But I think you get the overall picture. Bit of a mixed day for memes, but also nothing too major in terms of moves up or down. Getting to the main headlines, just said it. BTC briefly did drop to 114K, had its move back up. We're also gonna take a bit of a look at the broader market as part of that headline, which I'll cover as well. Then BitMine Immersion revealing that they are now holding over $2 billion worth of ETH, which makes them by far now the largest ETH treasury company. Definitely want to have a discussion around how we feel about the treasury companies also investment wise. I think we discussed quite a lot what we think that it means for the market and the risks that we see with that. But given the fact that it was you and I on a show alone, Brad, I think a couple of weeks ago, we kind of discussed how misunderstood SBET was. That was when it was back at $9. Curious to see if you traded that or if you want to trade that, but we'll get into that as well. And then last but not least, Pump Fund being flipped by Bonk when it comes to FTV, and also Pump Fund sliding under a $1 billion market cap. Getting to the NFT side of things, it is this time of the market again where we see EtherRocks moving, bringing that up on screen for the people watching us on video. EtherRock number 59 has been purchased for 82 point something ETH. That is a 300K. Also seen a sweep of hoodie punks yesterday. Cyrus reported on that someone spent $3 million to sweep a couple hoodie punks, 6 hoodie punks. So punks are definitely one of the strongest assets when it comes to NFTs at the moment, but also zooming out a bit to take a broader look at what's happening around the NFT space. Pudgies are down a bit to a 15.70 floor, down 2%. Very, very similar story for Apes, also down 2%, 12.24 ETH floor for them. Doodles did slide down 7%. It was also on the news of quite a few team members leaving the team. Now they're under 1 ETH floor again, 0.98 ETH to be specific. Moonbirds up 2.5%. As I said it on the show yesterday, I think they are up a ton. They're up 150% of the week, but they kind of keep oscillating between that 1.5 and 1.8 ETH price floor. And then the only other thing I really want to point out is the Kato Genesis NFTs, because they are up 9% over the day, 1.08 ETH floor. However, they are down tremendously over the week. They are down 34%, and that is kind of in line with the token price action as well, which Brad is probably not the biggest.
Do we get out of the ecosystem? Like, is it time to get out of this thing? Like, Kaido is. Huh?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like updates are coming, right? So like you was teasing some stuff the last few weeks, months. That's why I put the long in. Right? It's like, okay, he said got some more things coming. Like, we're announcements, utility, whatever. I thought he'd get creative. It pumped on that news, then it waned a little bit, and then it pumped again whenever he really revealed like utility, this G Kaido mechanism to like try to like remove the slop. So the question, and for those in the crowd who don't know, like it was G Kaido is like this mechanism that they're like, okay, AI slop is becoming a problem. We're trying to reward the right people who are giving the right sentiment and like driving the right conversation. So just like upping their criteria for who gains mindshare and yaps on the platform. So the question becomes, do we think this mechanism is going to be good? And then 2, does that matter? Right? Everyone I think is feeling fatigue from all of this, from InfoFi and like a lot of these yaps and mindshare leaderboards. I think a lot of us are getting disillusioned with it, if I'm just being honest. Right? You see a lot of AI slot bots getting in there and like crowding out the leaderboard. If you go to the mindshare on the actual landing page, I don't know that it feels right. Like, admittedly, I've been off the timeline recently as I've been here on site at the Mafia stuff, but like that. But prior to me doing that, I didn't feel like it was accurately representative. It's just like whatever the cool new thing is, like TGE wise, like Caldera, right? No one talks about or cares about Caldera, but like Caldera was like top mindshare because enough people were trying to farm the thing so that it crawled up the actual like mindshare leaderboard. So Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to get your reflections on like where do we think this stuff is going? Because I'm contemplating just like cutting my bags where we're at. Muted.
Thank you. I think I tend to agree with you. I think that you don't see that many top signal accounts trying to hit um, all the new boards. I think the farming is becoming a bit exhaustive. It's becoming filtering out the AI slop. Yeah, that's a good take, but obviously then the content will improve, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always going to be like a game of trying to beat the algorithm, trying to earn the rewards. You still have massive companies moving into. You have Bybit. Was it 100K that they announced for people talking about their tokenized stock product, mentioning Bybit as well?
For Kaido?
For Kaido, yeah, for Kaido that is. So you still have like
okay, so big companies are coming on the board, are getting boards.
Yes, that is still happening. At the same time, want to bring this up given that we are talking about this. Vo had this post up yesterday. She said InfoFi is dying for real this time. It's a pretty long post, so I'm not going to read all of that. Just the key points. The hard truth about InfoFi is that 99% of its users are purely extractive. They provide zero value. Cato farmers are not providing value, growing awareness. Companies want the biggest KOLs. Companies want the mid-sized micro KOLs. Companies want new users. They're paying at minimum 150K for a Kaido leaderboard. No shade to Kaido, what makes it worth 150K in this current model, because most of the InfoFi user base is just not comprised of thought leaders and KOLs, and in-app users or spenders, just extractors. Yeah, sure, there's a couple high signal KOLs, but there's more than 80 projects to yap about that nobody has ever heard of. And she goes on to say that yapping about the InfoFi as a large scale is an easy way to grow a quick following and make some cash, but at what cost? I tend to agree that the offering is like getting way too large. I think like I understand the business model of cutting out the middleman and cutting out the KOL agencies and just having people farm your leaderboard. And maybe for some of the pre-TGE, I'm thinking about this live, for some of the pre-TGE companies, maybe it's like becoming sort of an expectation. So in the last run up, we had the social questing. Yeah, there was a certain expectation by some of the centralized exchanges, if you wanted to be listed, to be able, I know that from the companies that I'm still advising, to be able to show, look, this is a social questing campaign that we did. We had hundred thousands of wallets, millions and millions of impressions, yada, yada, yada. Exchanges did want to
Which
see
is
that.
ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah. It is ridiculous, yeah, because it's mostly fake numbers. Maybe, and I don't know this. I need to check in with some of my contacts. Maybe this is now becoming a thing for the projects which are about to TG, that some of the exchanges want to see a certain mindshare. They want to see that you're able to push to the top 3 on Cato if you have a board, if you want to get listed. Could imagine this being a thing. I still think that Cato or the InfoFi meta per se is a better way to align incentives than running via middlemen and having your KOL campaigns. Do still think that they good agencies provide value, but I think it is a better model, but it's far, far away from perfect. I would argue my biggest gripe with the current InfoFi meta, and I'm saying this as someone who's probably like one of its biggest benefiters, given that I have quite a few yaps and stuff, is that the rewards always tend to go to the same people. Like it's the same circle of 20, 30, 40 KOLs who can push to be at the top of whatever leaderboard they want if if they think that the rewards are worth to do so. And it's like very, very hard for others to do that or to even be able to come into a position. I just don't think that this is a very, very sustainable way to do it. It's not about like, noise on the timeline and basically, you do your posts and you do then your Cato farming post in between. It looks like an ad and essentially it is an ad. I think it's more that CT is way larger than just 30 people. And it's never been so biased to reward the same group of people than it's now the case, in my opinion, with Cato.
Yeah. And I think there's a little bit of adverse selection there too, where it's like, do you like the highest quality people, I would say, like don't want to explicitly farm or like didn't get to their position by explicitly farming stuff. At least not in like the social sense, right? Like you climb to a certain level for being genuine, for being authentic, for like going where your interests are and whatever. And there is just this like natural recoil that people feel whenever they read what they believe is to be paid content on anyone's feed if like they're following as like a personality. So to see, and I think like we can sniff that out a little bit whenever we see that stuff going on for Kaido. So like yeah, sure, like both of our accounts are large enough that we could probably get on basically any leaderboard that we wanted if we just like wanted to do it. But to do so would, one, be out of character, and two, would be like would feel dilutive to our brand equity, right? Like our actual account. So like that means people like us, which are like the top quality ones, which I believe I'm slobbing on ourselves. So I'm glazing too hard here, but like I feel like we are people that would be valuable to basically most companies, and like we're not gonna do that. Like for those reasons. So like then you're left with people who are doing farming for farming's sake, and then like is that really valuable? Like is that worthwhile for the companies to spend money? Which is ultimately what I'm most interested in, right? Like as a company, would you spend the money to do this? Because that's what's making Kaido and Kaido the token, Kaido the product, Kaido the token valuable. Like if we think in the future companies will believe or continue to believe that this is a valuable spend to then buy the leaderboard, to then like do these buybacks and shit that Kaido does periodically. Obviously, you believes like his token has utility because he did the whole like million of his own dollars buyback thing. It's just like, does that matter?
Yeah, and there's other ways to like kind of express that bullishness or that belief in a protocol. I mean, you obviously did it with Mega ETH. You joined the team.
Yeah, right.
ICOBs the same with proof of play, and on that announcement, the Pirate token did go up 30%. It has come down a bit too, but it's still up 20% over the week. So I think if anything, the entire timeline knows that every KOL, every person with like enough reach can grind up any leaderboard, and then it isn't like high signal anymore. The high signal things then become someone like yourself, someone like ICO joining a team, becoming part of the team, someone getting involved maybe as an advisor and being very public about that. That signals way stronger than blurting out your posts to climb up on a specific leaderboard, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I spent too much time on this, but like just to close out, like I think we've also seen a post recently of just like people gaming the system where there's like talking about irrelevant stuff and then putting their name at the bottom of, or any brand at the bottom of it, and then climbing a mindshare leaderboard in that way, just like with totally irrelevant stuff. Hopefully this Kaido mechanism saves some of that. But yeah, I think there's just been like a distrust in that, like it is actually good at quantifying conversation.
Yeah, no, that's a very good closing point on that discussion. Look, before we get into the main headlines, a couple more things to do. First of which is to bring you the rest of the news from around the space. So heading into the Web3 roundup, let me get this up on screen. First piece of news: the Senate is working on its own version of the crypto market structure bill. After already getting stablecoin legislation passed into law, Rep. Tom Emmer believes it'll ultimately pass the House's version. That important to point out from a regulatory perspective. And kind of in line with that the Bank of America did report quite a few banking moves this week. And Bank of America now says that many banks are preparing to introduce crypto stablecoins, and that the banking system is ready for institutional stablecoin adoption. On a more governmental level, Ghana plans to license crypto platforms as it drafts a regulatory framework to boost trade, attract investment, and capture revenue from the $3 billion plus crypto activity in the country. What I found very interesting of this part of news is that the central bank in Ghana says that 17% of adults use crypto, quite a large number. It's almost 1 in 5 people. And obviously, as a result of that a good regulation is overdue. Then MicroStrategy, we did report on the latest offering, a stretch, which was initially at $500 million. Currently seems to see quite a lot of demand because they are increasing it from the 500 mil to 2 billion, pricing 5 million shares at $90 each. And another piece of news, Tokyo Stock Exchange listed AI company Quantum Solutions has announced a plan to hold up to 3,000 BTC over the next 12 months. So the number of Bitcoin treasury companies is also still going up. I saw you, Brad, reacting to the strategy news. Any thoughts on that specifically?
Yeah, bro, 4x on demand. Holy shit. Going five, what was it? It's 500 mil to 2 billion. Yeah, that's crazy. And like, yeah, like we keep telling ourselves like wondering like when the top is, like when that's coming in, but like, dude, he's doing this now at this number, which is all-time high for Bitcoin, and then it's still 4x oversubscribed to get exposure to like, I don't know, man. Like I've been trying to shift my listening to a lot of like macro stuff to try to like keep a tab on both internal and external to our market bullish indicators, whatever. I think like the general consensus is that we have between 6 months and a year for this thing to like sauce up, and I like this is just kind of indication of that. Like the appetite is still this rich. And I think most people believe that the treasury companies are going to kind of lead to the unwinding, the great unwinding, as like they start getting a little crazy. But this is like it's coming. It's going to get weird. We're still seeing absurd buys, as like whenever the absurd buys stopping, and like and also the price starts being a little toppy, then you start running into issues where like the underlying is not going to be supportive of the actual stock, and then like you can see those things start coming down. I'm looking for that indication, but like this stuff is crazy. 4x oversubscription for the biggest all-time high treasury company effectively is good for us for the short term. Muted.
Biggest treasury company, more than $70 billion worth of BTC. BTC almost at all-time high, still 4x oversubscription. That crazy. Is massive. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. One interesting thing you said you shifted your attention to try to get more a sense of what's going on with the macro. It's never been something that I would argue interested you the most. Why this change of heart?
Like I like, and I think it was just an idea of like, okay, like things are starting to feel a little frothy. Like I want to try to tap into the minds of people who see these broader trends and are just like straight up traders as opposed to like technical conversations. So like my technical conversations are not going to tell me when things are getting too frothy. Like we'll feel frothy, we'll be excited. Like I can use some of those things as signals, but I wanted to try to tap into the minds of people who are like I listen to 1000X podcasts, right? Like it's like ex traders from TradFi who did commodities, right? Like, but they're now and have been in crypto for a while. They've seen crazy shit. They have signals. They have things that I cannot spend the time to like come up with my own systems for when things start to feel toppy. So I need to just listen to a wide range of people who do have systems, and then from them deduce when I think like it's probably time to like, they will be my signals instead of me putting like a MACD and like, oh, the outflows of whatever. Like I can't do that. I can't develop those systems fast enough. I'm not a trader. I can't do it. So I want to sit here and listen to 3 or 4 people from different areas of the ecosystem that are all traders, that all have their own systems. And then through them, like if I can try to get like a pulse on how they are feeling, then that's how I can like hopefully derive my own intuition.
I like that. So you're not looking at specific indicators. You just want to basically get the vibe of 3, 4 people you respect.
I'm aggregating. I'm aggregating the aggregators. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Look, we have 3 headlines to get into: price action, treasury companies, and the pump fund Bonk flippening. But before we do that, I want to go to our sponsored segment of the week to talk a bit about Polkadot and to talk specifically about the first boost event on Polkadot's main DeFi protocol, Hydration, which just went live yesterday. For the next 3 weeks, you can earn a massively boosted yield on your BTC deposits on Hydration. Rewards are being paid in Gigadot, and the reward currently sits at 32.4% APR. There's still space for around 100 more BTC to go into that farm. And after 3 weeks, a new boost war will start. That means that there's going to be 3 referenda on the Hydration subsquare to determine which asset pool will receive that next massive yield boost. And I think keeping an eye on those future launches and being early then to the launch of the farm can pay off. When the TBTC Boost Farm launched, the theoretical maximum APR was at 222%. Now, of course, that yield went down as more TBTC was deposited into the pool, but for the first hours, you could have earned a even higher APR than the current APR of 32.4%. And one more thing I wanted to point out is a different farm. It's not a boost farm, but I think it's an interesting pool to mention because it gets overlooked easily. And it is the Solana pool with only 500K or so in TVL, where you can currently earn almost 60% APR on your Solana deposits. The rewards, again, are being paid in Gigadot, and the farm is live for 2 more months. Thank you to Polkadot for sponsoring this segment, and stay tuned for more Polkadot explorations over the coming weeks. The next thing I want to get into is, let me get it up on screen. I have a million tabs open. The first headline said at the top of the show, BTC went down to 114 point something K, did recover to 116K. And it is to do with Galaxy Digital, who, according to Look on Chain, has dumped 10,000 BTC initially, 1.18 billion over the past 3 hours. That was from 6 hours ago. The post, they withdrawn $370 million in Tether from OKX, Binance, and Bybit. And then a bit later on, they went to report that the sell-off is still on the way as Galaxy Digital deposited another 2.8K BTC. That is 330 million to exchanges. Also, you can track those moves on Arkham if you're interested in doing so. Nonetheless, moving away from that singular BTC selling and taking a look at the ETH ETF and BTC ETF inflows this week to get a broader sense of where the market is headed and what the market is doing. It's quite an interesting picture. We have inflows in the ETH ETFs. We had inflows in the ETH ETFs yesterday of $230 million and inflows of $226 million in the BTC ETF. So we've seen a flippening yesterday. Also noteworthy that the 3 days before on the BTC side of things were all red days with outflows ranging from 68 to 130 million, while all of these days have been massively green for ETH ETFs with inflows anywhere between 300 and even $530 million. However, while BTC has been, as I said, sliding down a bit, the stock market is doing tremendously well. The S&P 500 did close at all-time highs yesterday. And if we take a look at the pre-market today, S&P is up a touch, 0.1% on its implied open. Dow Jones is up 0.12%. Nasdaq is flat on the future side of things, but the market, and that is according to CNN's indicator, is driven by extreme greed. That indicator is at 75. Just checking in with the crypto indicator real quick on CoinMarketCap. Yeah, that's quote unquote just at 66. So it does seem like there's more greed if you look at these two indicators on the stock side of things than on the crypto side of things. And one more final stat that I wanted to point out, to going back to ETH, going back to the ETH ETFs, is a post by Tyler saying that the ETH ETFs just celebrated the 1 year anniversary. Some notable ETH inflow stats: 8.7 bill in total net inflows, $727 million. We also reported on that was the daily record set for inflows that was set 9 days ago on July 16th. 6 of the top 7 inflow days have happened in the past 2 weeks. That to me is the strongest stat out of all these facts that Tyler has mentioned. And then 48% of all net flows in the past 11 sessions, so in the past 11 trading days. And that with the CoinGlass chart that we had up on screen before.
You know what I want to do? I still think the market is not, or would be surprised at each dollar of inflow from the ETFs for both ETH and BTC, and the ratio of that to the actual market cap of both of those assets. Like, we're looking at the raw numbers of inflows, ETH versus BTC. Both are impressive. whenever you stack that up against the actual asset price, like Ethereum's are fucking gargantuan relative to BTC. I would like to get that ratio for each of those days and then make a graph to show like how outsized like the ETFs are for that. And like, just like what you said, like looking at a relative chart, like ETH has only had one outflow day in the last 30 days, whereas BTC has actually had 3 of the last 5, I think is what I'm looking at. Yeah, 3 of the last 5 have been outflow days, albeit small, but like they have been. And it's just like, it's clearly picking up on the ETH side. And whenever you take that relative to the actual market cap of the token itself, like I purchased ETH whatever a week or 2 ago because like I felt like the wave was coming, and the wave is still coming. And I think we probably have this thing to ride for a little bit.
Are you looking to purchase more ETH on top of that purchase? Was that a single purchase? Do you plan to DCA a bit more into it? What are your current like thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty allocated in the industry. I had stables that were sitting on the sideline, and that's what I moved into ETH, whatever, 2-3 weeks ago. It's like I just pushed those into ETH, and now I'm holding spot. But it makes me, seeing the size of this stuff and how consistently they're playing in, and kind of the narrative feels like it's still developing, like it hasn't reached a crescendo of like over the topness, although it's getting like, we're feeling it. It just makes me want to take like a low leverage long, like just to one, continue to play with perps a little bit, try to get a win, and then do low leverage so that like I won't get liquidated if something goes weird.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe let's continue that portfolio conversation in a minute, but I the second headline into it, and that is to do with BitMine Immersion now being the largest holder of ETH. They just revealed that they're holding over $2 billion in ETH now. That is 566,776 ETH to be exactly, and that puts them way above. If we take a look at the strategic ETH reserve page, which is one that I've been visiting quite frequently, puts them way above Sharplink Gaming. So to be specific with the numbers, BitMine is now sitting at $2.11 billion worth of ETH. Sharplink is at 1.34. Then the Ethereum Foundation with 880 mil. And then I mentioned it also on the show that the Ether Machine, next treasury company, which plans to buy $1.5 billion worth of ETH, or has collected capital for that, already did some purchases. I say some, did a lot of purchasing already, and is sitting at $630 million worth of ETH. I feel like if you look at the stock set of things, especially between BitMine and Sharplink, also paints an interesting picture. BitMine is up 5% yesterday, is up another 4.5% on the pre-market. Essentially, it's flat over the week at $43. It's up 844% over the last month. Then taking a look at the SBET stock, SBET is down 10% over the last day. It's up 2% on the pre-market.
These treasury companies, man, like they're so volatile, like because they're just playing against their NAV price. Like, yeah, you have to be ready to deal with it.
Exactly. I mean, SBET is down 36% over the week. And I think this is also to do with the fact that there's a lot of dilution going on.
Can you go to the monthly?
Yes, let me bring that up. The monthly is an interesting one. Still up 140%. Obviously, did go as high as, did go higher than that. Did go to 45 and then did go all the way down. And if we zoom out even further, it's up 300% over the last 6 months, but obviously far away from its all-time high that it had set at $80.
So this is the game we got to be ready to play with these treasury companies. And because at the FUD, I continue to hear is that like they work as long as the underlying goes up, right? Which great, we all want that. But what happens is these treasury companies can run an arb against their own price, right? Like are the NAV of the underlying versus their stock price. So they have their underlying ETH or BTC or hype or whatever your thing is, and TradFi comes in, buys the stock. The stock eventually will run at a premium relative to the underlying value, right? The FDV or the market cap of the stock will exceed the FDV of the market cap of, or the total amount that you have of the underlying asset. The stock company then goes, well, shit, we're just going to issue more shares. We're going to bring this back down into NAV. So it's 1-to-1. And then now we have more shares that we can more money that we just sold by diluting the holders to then purchase more of the underlying. So then, okay, now our stock of ETH goes up. So now theoretically, people should be able to buy more of our stock price because we've bought a shit ton of this underlying. And as we buy it, the price goes up. We want to buy the top because it continues to bring this like the price up to bring up our what should be our stock price, which then allows us to then separate from the underlying, presumably, and then you issue more shares and you run it back. And you're competing with other treasury companies to do the same thing. You're all sitting there buying and oscillating and jostling with each other to keep buying the underlying, run your stock price up, dilute your holders, and then just do it again. And the stock price should theoretically continue to go up with that. But that means you're constantly being diluted. Like that's literally part of the game for these guys to be able to do that. So as a holder, you're putting a lot of fucking trust into these people to operate this thing efficiently and to continue to do that purchase and to be on a good asset so that the number keeps going up. Because once it doesn't go up, shit can unwind very quickly, which is like the worry that everyone has with a lot of this stuff. It's basically no downside risk for the treasury companies and like really high upside. So like, of course, they're going to do it on the ARB. So I'm trying to keep my eye on it and understand that. And like, you just have to white knuckle some of these things and just hope they're operating appropriately, which is why like I did the Hype D one on Hyperliquid. And the reason I was able to, I gave them a little conviction was because if they're positioning to do one, there's someone within the Hype ecosystem, I forget his name, it's like some English dude, like he's advising them. And two, like they're a validator, like they're trying to like position themselves as a very strong like Hyperliquid participant. So like those two things gave me the conviction to say, I think these guys are going to act in good faith and like continue to try to run this thing up, and they actually believe in it. So like, but it's been a ride. I'm gonna be honest, it's been a ride.
Oh, yeah, there is a ton of volatility, and as you said, like SBET had exactly that same vote yesterday, which went out in their favor. That means they are now allowed to buy, to place an additional 500 million shares, continue the ATM facility, be able to buy, I think, up to 5 billion more ETH with that. Yeah. So you will get diluted, massively diluted shareholder. But at the same time, the game that they're trying to play is to increase your ETH per share. So that under the assumption that the NAV multiple stays the same, the share price should go up because if the market sees, oh, these things traded 2x the multiple and you get more ETH per share, then the price of the share should go up, especially if the ETH per share goes up more than the share dilution. And I think that is exactly the tricky game to play, and that's exactly the trust that you have to place in those companies in terms of them being able to execute on that.
Should we just be playing the volatility as opposed to playing the underlying? Like we were talking about it. We know the volatility is going to come. I've been watching the chart. It's fucking up 10%, down 10%, up 5%, down 10%, up 20%, down 10%. Like volatility is insane. I have to imagine options have like a crazy premium because of that. Like it's traditionally just been very volatile around these things. But I wonder if there's like a better way for us to just like index on the volatility and make money on that as opposed to having to like ride the stock wave, which is the easiest thing to do, right? There's no maintenance there. You just buy the thing and just like white knuckle for a couple of months. What are your thoughts?
I've been thinking the same because I hold a fairly large position of SBET, and I'm in the mean. So the first time I did the thing, I bought it, I sold it the day after, then I bought again, and then it was up beautifully when I did go up to 45. But I was like, this time, nah, I'm not gonna sell. I'm gonna hold. I went against my intuition. Now I'm down on that, and I just refuse to sell because I think it's gonna go up again. I've been thinking if I shouldn't go back to either cut the losses now or wait to at least break even and trade this more actively. On the one hand, and then the other hand, and this is where I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well. Now that this competition, especially between BitMine and SBET, is heating up, who is going to be the largest holder of ETH? Do you think that there's only going to be one winner in this race? Is it going to be the biggest company in terms of holdings, or do you think that like multiple that this ETH tide can lift multiple treasury boats, so to speak?
Like, are you saying, do I think one of them is going to gain mind share and just be the one that runs away from the crowd because
of that the other will dump? Or do you think now if both execute well, both BitMine and SBET can like grind up?
I think both can, but I think one will reach escape velocity and I want to say it's Tom Lee and it's BitMine, because he's the one that's the face of the narrative right now. So like, even though Joe Lubin is cool and he's good inside of our cult, Tom Lee's the one he's the one that's the head of like TradFi. He's the one that's doing the CNBC interviews and like coining the, oh, it's a issue or it's a play on stable coins. Like he's the one that's driving the narrative. He is the KOL for TradFi, which is where the bid's going to come from. He's got the headlines, he's got the whatever. So if I was going to make a bet, I make a bet that it's BitMine. And I think, yeah, one of them will outpace the other. I think that's just normal. We see that repeatedly.
Do you hold any of the two at the moment?
No, I'm all stock. The only treasury companies I bought were the hyperliquid one, which now in hindsight, I'm wondering if like I mid-curved it, because like I was bagged up on hyperliquid. I wanted more hyperliquid exposure from my brokerage account. I should have just rode the wave of Ethereum that was happening. I'm still fine with it, but like I'm wondering if I mid-curved it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering now if you think that, you know, BitMine might be the winner of this and SBET will cruise along but be outpaced. If SBET, which has significantly more volatility, especially over the last week now, which probably also has to do with a massive dilution event, if that is not the one where you want to trade the volatility, and if you want to hold one of those for longer, if that shouldn't then be BitMine.
Yeah, maybe do a split. Like I don't have a lot of positions. I don't want a lot of positions. So I'd like to just like have a conviction play on one or two things. And then like if I have to manage them, manage them. I like Ebrink in the comments. He talked about a way to do that. Like we have the spot right now, right? So we could sell covered calls technically to just like knowing that the premium is crazy high, just like continuously sell outside the money. And like maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't, depends on when the dilution events come. And it's an easy way to just like farm that and like be okay with selling the upside there.
Also, a shout out to Notorious Big Bull in the YouTube comments with a comment that you might like. Hyper D will run when hype runs. It's just taking a bit longer.
Thanks, Bull. I need that. I'm holding firm. I might sell some covered calls on it though. I think that's a good call by Ebrink.
Yeah, maybe on that note, because you, Notorious Big Bull, have also been asking about the access to the Telegram group that we mentioned early this week. We are about to be finished with setting that up, with having everything in there that we want to have in there. We mentioned it on the show a couple of days ago, got more than 50 DMs on the Modern Market with people who want to join the group. Either going to send out invites today or over the weekend. So rest assured that we have not forgotten the DMs. We on purpose have not opened any of them so that we can just keep tabs of everyone to reply to, but the group is definitely coming. We did not forget about that. Just a couple more things that I need to polish and fine tune with that and make sure we have good bot protection in there. But I think ultimately this move, and then I want to move into the last headline because we only have 5 more minutes on the show, made a ton more sense for us. A bit of Modern Market lore. We obviously had the Discord. We had the Discord historically because before the show, we had Airdrop Season, which was our airdrop farming product where we guided people step by step through Arbitrum and other airdrops to farm. And that lived naturally on Discord. So we then gravitated to also have the Modern Market community on Discord. But ultimately, I think we all realized that we don't really spend too much time on Discord anymore. And the only reason I'm on Discord is to be checking the Modern Market chat, whereas I'm spending most of my time when it comes to socials, apart from X. But X is not really good. We tried an X community. It's not good for the community side of things on Telegram. And hence, I think it does make sense to transition there and have this baby going in a couple days or so. But with that out of the way, we have one more headline to cover. Brett, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, this one's about Bonk just continuing this crazy run that it's had against Pump Fund. So if everyone's not familiar, Bonk is a meme coin that was originally launched on Solana, and it was distributed to the ecosystem. It has since grown into like a pretty strong revenue generating machine. They have Bonk Bot, which is a Telegram bot, generating a bunch of revenue that way. They sponsor some of the crypto fight nights that you see in Dubai. They have recently launched Let's Bonk, which is a launch pad for tokens that was competing with Pump Fund, utilizing Radium on the back end to migrate to. And they just recently announced that they have generated so much revenue from this that they burnt, was that 500 billion? Hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, 500 billion tokens burned, which comes from the 50% buy and burn that they do from their revenue which has been pretty obscene lately. So if you look at the recent pump charts, you'll see that they are losing incredible market share to Bonk Fund, to this launchpad, mostly on the back of Radium team and the Bonk team, which has gone after a lot of these industrial launchers who have migrated their token deployments from Pump to the Bonk launchpad, and then KOLs like Bonk guy, literally his entire identity is Bonk, and he just continues to shill Bonk, the Bonk ecosystem, and predominantly a few coins that he has been able to push to create incredible numbers, namely like Useless Coin recently. But yeah, Bonk Fund, the actual launchpad is oscillating pretty consistently between like 60 and 70% of all successful tokens and migrations in the Solana ecosystem, which is obviously a lot. They have recently flipped both Radium and Bonk have both flipped Pump Fund on the daily fee generations. Pump has actually fallen out of the top 20. It was at 22 the last I checked, with $800,000 in revenue over the last 24 hours, whereas Bonk was at 1.6 and Radium was at like 2.3, 2.4 million. So it's just continued strength out of the Bonk ecosystem. And because of this, Pump, which recently just launched a token, they did a giant raise, launched at $4 billion FTV. And would they raise 500 million on that, Legendary?
500 or 600 it was. I think it was 500 though.
Yeah, they raised 500 million from the community in ICO. That token has been down only, frankly, since reaching its all-time high, which came 2 days after launch. It reached about $6.7 million or 7 billion FTV, and then since then has fallen 60% to like 2.3 billion fully diluted value and under 1 billion market cap. Now the question becomes: one, can Pump regain the launchers and the market share and start generating revenue again? Because that revenue was going to be used for token buybacks and burns, be driven towards the coin in some capacity. I'm gonna be honest, like I feel like we're getting towards the position that it's like it may be worth taking out a long on Pump. I think the market has moved on, frankly, from meme coins broadly, and then doubly so until like Bonk just gives away the strength that it has shown. Like until you see that, you wonder how much Pump can claw back. They clearly have the resources, right? With this raise and the fees that they generated over the last year, it's over $1 billion. That's a shit ton of money to be able to do whatever the hell you want. And you can throw that at whatever they want to try and claw back, the market. So I would not necessarily fade them, but it's also like, infinite money does not mean you're going to ultimately get the thing. It just higher the likelihood of it.
Yeah, awesome summary. And you're perfectly right. They have more money in the treasury than the current market cap of the token. But
it's crazy.
It's an absurd situation to be in. Do you have any appetite to play this game, Bonk versus Pump Fund, have a long on Pump Fund by Bonk, or is it something you're staying?
I do have appetite. I do have appetite just because Pump is has been such a dominant player and brand and has the war chest that they have accumulated. I don't know that I'm like eager to jump in. I'm not going to like just do it because like I feel like I have to have a position. I just feel like it is something that will clearly have mind share again at some point, and it is something that it would behoove us to monitor and to get a position in at some point. I just don't think it's right now. I think the market is still just looking away from them. Bonk's winning, so just like let them win. Everyone's gonna get tired of it all, and then maybe in that lull, Pump will strike, try to deploy something, gain back market share, throwing along on them, and then just like let it ride.
I like that. I like that as a closing take. And we are out of time for the week. So that does bring us to a close for this show today and also for the week. Thank you, Brett, for co-hosting the show with me. Thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us today. Thank you to the YouTube commentors. Thank you for your patience with the Telegram group. We are going to be back on Monday, same place, same time, 7 a.m. Eastern time, live on X, live on YouTube, and also posted to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. In the meantime, have a wonderful weekend and see you back on Monday.